Good morning, David Paul here. Let's call this video How Am I Getting On? Because my daughter sent me a message today saying, how are you getting on, Dad? So I thought I'll give you guys an update as well. Started off with this nice little bunch of flowers here, this nice little area that I've started to fiddle with. I love doing gardening, and there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't get done here because people are preoccupied with their problems and stuff, and when you got problems, it would be nice to be in a nicer environment. So I think they could do with doing some more gardening. It would help them with their stress maybe. So anyway, what am I doing, what have I been doing, and so on. These woods here are here to build a table for the Rojas family, because they all used to sit round this big old wooden table, and I said, I'll restore the table. And I looked at it and it's so rotten, it's unbelievable. So this is the wood that Ma and Pa planted for me to build the boat or the house or whatever I want to do with it. And this is like kind of leftover, it's not necessary. So I thought it would be a nice thing to build a table using this. So this is set aside. So why do I bring this in on the conversation? Because I noticed this morning I got up, I spent a lot of time fiddling about yesterday trying to make like a Japanese saw that I would mount a router in so I can pull along and route very fine amounts of wood and produce a nice finish on wood. I'm sick of this like off the chainsaw look. I want something that looks really good, because it's a contrast to what you normally get in what you would call a Bahai Kubo. Bahai Kubo would be a very cheap, poor looking house, and mine's not going to look like that. So anyway, I'm cutting, and I'm going to talk about some circular saws here as well. I used my battery powered DeWalt cordless saw to cut these cuts in here. And what I really noticed about this is I took the face to be true, and I cut through a vertical cut here using that saw. It was hard work for it because it was running out of puff, and it was constantly overheating as well because this is the Philippines. So it was a battle for it. But the point is that the DeWalt tools are very good quality tools. And the things I'm buying here in the Philippines do the job, but they're not really that good quality. So you can see here that the lines run through. That's a vertical edge there, and this line is running through here with respect to that face, so they're parallel. This is at 90 degrees, and the cuts that I've made on the top, well, I used a square to this thing here to align the saw, but even so, the saw was able to follow it truly, because it's on such a good quality bed, the bed of the saw, the base, the sole of the saw, so it can follow that line true. And I would say that looks to me to be 90 degrees. If I can't discern the difference, then it's arrived really, because it only has to appeal to human eye. So there'll be a couple of slits cut out of this, and then they will go either side of this board here, and then the router will be mounted in the middle here, and then I will pull it along, because I'm having a lot of a big battle with this big railway line device that I've made. Although I've done some work with that. That is not to be scrapped. It's going to be used as a base for turning wood, which is another project that I've got to do later on. I'm going to, after I have finished this basic unit of the house, I'm going to switch to using round wood. And then I'm going to need to turn that round wood, and that railway line device thing that I made will be absolutely necessary for that. So that's what I'm going to use that for. It won't get wasted. And even then, I will, at the end of the job, I'll cut it up and use it for window frames. So, let's go outside and have a look in the garden or yard or whatever you might call it. Brilliant, beautiful day. The weather, it's hot and sunny, but the humidity has gone down, and I'm burning these repellents which get rid of the mosquitoes. They really, it clears quite an area, and I'm allowed to work in peace now by the mosquitoes, and the humidity isn't too bad at all because the rainy season is going off. There's a mosquito hovering around looking for a target, me, already, but I'll get the Catool burning and that'll stop that. So what happened here is these were the upright posts of the construction, and I had a good long hard think about this. It's really good to build something, you know, and change it as you go along, you know, and to get something that develops organically. So anyway, what the problem was is they're very, very heavy to carry around and handle. That's one bad thing. It means I've got to hire workers for that. And the hiring of those workers could have gone to buying solar panels. And also they're getting difficult to get because they're always chopping coconut. So I've never really liked the idea of depending on other people. So if you're dependent on other people, then you've got a design problem, and you need to design that out of your life so you don't need to depend on them anymore. So don't have a house that's complicated and difficult to maintain with facilities in it that you don't understand and can't fix yourself, and so on. So what I did is I was not happy with that, the idea of single posts in a normal post and beam construction. These single posts, I thought if we have an earthquake or any unsettlement, anything, I don't know, like typhoons or whatever, it's going to bounce around like that, rhomboids as I call it, and be capable of collapsing. So I came up with the idea of why not split the posts into two. You still have the same compressive strength there, but make them sort of like A-frames and stack them around the room. And it also fixed a problem that I had, is because I aligned the base so that it was an apex of the hexagon pointing towards the sea. And I really want a flat face pointing towards the sea. Well, as a consequence of splitting this, I end up with it. You'll see when I've done it. You end up with a flat face facing towards the sea, plumb on towards the view of the sea, and then views either side. And in that flat area, you can actually utilize that as an entrance or whatever you want to do with it. Okay, so that's all that. It took me ages to split these. That was a brute of a job. I used my circular saw, cut down them, and then flipped them over and cut them again. And there's a problem here, which I always get when I split wood in two using circular saws, doing it in a double way, is that you never get the alignment between the two edges, the two cuts, so that you end up with ridges in the middle, which you've then got to plane out. This first one I did a pretty good job on that one. This one here is not too bad. And that raises a question. Gosh, wouldn't it be really good if you could use a circular saw and cut a log into two, and then go, you know, cut it down the middle, and then run around the other side and make another cut where the two of them would match up, or that there would be so much a short quantity of material in between them that was easily removed. Or you could do a double slit and then remove a sliver of wood out of it, which would allow you sufficient space to get your chainsaw down and do the remainder. Wouldn't that be great? But it's not going to happen. You're not going to do that by hand. And here's an example of a bad cut. That's all got to be remedied, which I will do. I'll get rid of those ridges and mess that I made there. But it does raise the possibility of, is there a way that we could do this so that we could actually get the two to line up? And the answer is yes, and the answer is yet another jig. So not here, but probably in Portugal, I'm going to start using eucalyptus trees and splitting them down the middle and using them as floorboards. So you'll have a half of a log like this. Say that was a eucalyptus tree, and that will be a half of a log, which you will have split. And then you take this log, debark it, and you take it up into your house and you lie it on the floor beams, and you let it dry. And then what it'll immediately do, it will cup. It'll form on this flat face, beautiful flat face you just made, and the damn thing will cup and it'll form like a hollow like that. Don't worry about it. Just tie it down so it doesn't move when you're walking on it. Don't worry about that. Let it settle. Let it cup to its heart's content. Then at a later date, the much drier, settled piece of eucalyptus, machine it so that with the router and flat face that side, and take a bit of a face off the back and cut the edges straight, and now you've got a floorboard maybe 2 inches thick, which is not going to warp or twist or anything because you've allowed it to do that and season. But of course, whilst you've had it lying down, you've had the facility of having a floor that you can walk on. So that's the plan with that. Need to make this jig in Portugal to be able to do this. My skin's starting to get fried now. You can't go out in the Filipino sun for very long. And as for the Portuguese sun, that's worse. Because the Philippines has a lot of water vapor in the sky and stuff. And Portugal doesn't. We have really clear skies there. Ironically, Portugal is better for solar power than the Philippines in terms of peak power. In terms of leveled off power, sort of the lowest base load that you can get, I would say that the Philippines is probably the job. Oh dear God, I just noticed something. Oh my God, how bad can things be? See there's a big slit in the back of this wood, and that's my fault. Damn it to hell, that's my fault, and I really messed that up. That was me trying to separate these boards using a chainsaw and not being properly lined and wandering off and creating that slit. So I'm going to have to remedy that. However, how can I remedy that? Well, simply, it's not going to affect the strength of the post much. So all you have to do is simply turn that to the back so that it's not presented forwards, and that's an enclosed part of the job and you'll never see it. So I'm alarmed at seeing that. Oh my God, that's terrible. What a terrible carpenter. I was having a beast of a job cutting these notches in order to be able to put the cross beams of the roof into these. Now, of course, having split that gives me access to get in there and make a nice clean job of that, and it'll actually end up looking better than it was going to do because I've got that access now. So today is all about constructing A-frames. I have cut these lengths of wood here. These are 15 feet long. So if you say that your hexagon is going to be point to point 30 feet across, then these 15 footers, that will be the external dimensions. These 15 footers will do it because the diameter is going to be 2 15s, which is, and the sides are all going to be 15s. So I need 15-foot long planks. Now these, this is not very good quality wood. So the plan here is that I'm just going to use these at the bottom of the construction, and there will be like tensile parts of the structure. So there'll be a bolt in that end and a bolt in that end at the bottom of the A-frame, and they will be under tension. So I've got 3 of these, and there are 6 facets to this hexagon. So there are 6 bases that need to be covered. There's a one over there, one here, and one somewhere else. Can't remember. There's 2 of them over there and one here. So all I need to do today is to split these right down the middle, and don't worry too much about making them look pretty or anything, because they're only going to be temporary, and they will hold the house for now until I come up with something which is really pretty and put that in. That will probably be a mahogany, another mahogany tree somewhere. I've probably already got the wood up in the forest already. I've got logs cut up there ready to make the legs of the chairs and everything for the bed, for the table. So everything's in place, and you'll notice that the amount of wood is going down here, and that's because it is, you know, it's getting consolidated into what's going to go and what's not, and that which is not up to scratch and not used is being chopped up, and it's going at the back of the house, and that's going to be for cooking purposes, to prepare food outside. And that's pretty much it. That's everything of what's going on. I've got these big slices of wood here from the original pine mar tree. They are going to be part of my bed. I really need to get them under cover and drying, ready for when I start on that, because as soon as I've got this house built, I need to have a bed to sleep on. I'll be buying a mattress which I'll put on the floor, and then I'll start sleeping on the bed. I would like to get into the house quickly, but it turns out it's going to be rather damp, you know, with the moisture still in the wood. But so we'll see how long it takes for me to get that to an acceptable standard where I can tolerate living in it, because I'm really keen to get in it. Once I'm in it, then I'll start fiddling about and doing more work on it when I'm in situ. You know, you just feel like doing a bit of work, and you pick up a tool and do some work, and then have a coffee and do a bit more, and so on. And that's that. Anything else? These residual bits of wood here will get faced off. They're mahogany, and they will also get incorporated into the beds, because I've got to make at least 3 of them. Not on this trip, but certainly at some time. With regard to solar power, I really don't want to be connected to the grid here. And the grid on Tallycoot, we keep having brownouts here, although in the last few days we've done very well. But they call them brownouts, I mean blackouts really. It goes off. So do I want to be a party to all this? No, not really. So I've been checking out the price of solar panels, and they work out, I've got them down to 31 English pence per watt in the Philippines, which is 3.54 times cheaper than in the UK. So the plan is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy enough solar to run on here, maybe buy 10 of the panels or whatever. I've got to check the baggage allowance. I'm taking home my cordless tools, and they will never come back. And I'm going to use my remaining baggage allowance to carry solar panels. The solar panels will go back to England, and then I'll take them to Portugal. And then every time I come to the Philippines, I'll buy a new solar system to use on the house. And each time I'll go home to Portugal, and each time I'll pack up the whole solar panel system and take it home with me. Put something nice in view there when I'm talking. So take it home. So each time you're taking home basically a few hundred watts worth of capacity, and you're getting a discount on your flight because you're being discounted on the amount of solar that you're buying, and the more solar you buy, the better. So over time, I will eventually end up with a lot of solar, which will then mean I don't have an electric bill at all in Portugal. And on top of that, I'll have an abundance and an overabundance of electricity and nothing to do with it. So what will I do with it? I'll start charging electric vehicles. So the starting point would be an electric bicycle, and then move on up to maybe motorcycle or even a car at some time. And I can generate hydrogen fuel to put into a gasometer if I've got too much power, and I can use that to cook on, or to run a generator which will charge things when the solar is not as high as you want it to be. My ex-wife's cousin, I'm not being very kind to these little critters, but he's collecting these teak trees for me, which are just grown just dandy. They're doing really well, and the best thing to do with them, from my point of view, is just leave them alone. We've got a lemon tree here, ready to go in, and lots of bougainvillea, which I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and purchase these off my sister-in-law, rather than buying them myself in garden centres and things like that. These are Eucalyptus deglupta. I had 18 of these, and these are the last two surviving ones, and they are rather delicate, I tell you. I don't know what they're like when they get going, but to get them started, my God, they're delicate. No wonder people don't bother with them. And here I've got 6 mango trees, which will be shade for one of the constructions that I'm putting up. I've done some calculations. I think I made an error in it, but at the worst pitch of the... See, today it's overcast, it's cloudy. So where would you aim a solar panel? Well, my eye's not a scientific instrument. It's an adaptable organ, that's all. So it just changes its sensitivity according to the light. So I'd have to do a measurement on where the light was coming from and so on. But it seems to me that the thing to do here in the Philippines is solar power. I have this, by the way, and this is 30 watts, and this is generating enough power to run this house in terms of like provide us with lighting at night and to run things like radio, Wi-Fi thing, my mobile phone, charging that, everybody's mobile phone in the house. So we're going to have light, and we're going to have entertainment, and we're going to have anything we want, but we can't obviously run things like refrigerators and washing machines. But it means you're not sitting in the dark in silence. So that's been a big success. So let us imagine that you have an overcast day like today. Well, I know from experience that the sun is somewhere up there. If I was to put a scientific instrument on the sky and like plot out where the light is coming from and scan it all, you would get a peak value at obviously at the position where the sun is. So my idea is to say to hell with all this orientation business. What we need in life is we need one good decent dose of solar power in a day. Never mind trying to capture all of it. We just want one big decent dose. And there's a good reason there's a good advantage in not running at optimum power anyway, which I'll get to. So on the top of this fence here, there are these rebars. So what I plan to do is I'm going to mount the panel there, chop this tree down, trim it down, and it's going to aim at the sky, and the noon sun is around about there, except overhead. So as winter comes on, the sun will tilt downwards. And you'll get your dose of solar power even in the worst of the winter time. Although at times in the summertime, because it's the rainy season, it can actually be darker at times in the summertime. Never mind. So we go for that peak, to try and grab that peak at the worst possible moment in time of the whole year. And if you get that, you've scored. Now you could say, well, you know, you could put them on a tracking system, even a hand tracking system. Somebody's got to remember to be turning the damn thing round, and it's not going to happen because they've got other preoccupations. Neither might do it, but it's not going to be operating at the best efficiency. Well, why might that not be bad? Well, one good thing about it is it's starting to rain. Oh my god. I wouldn't have believed it. It's really going to bucket now. When it rains here, it really rains. One really good point about running solar panels at less than optimum is that you're not stressing the damn things, because heat stress on solar panels shortens their lives. So you don't want to be rebuying solar panels every few years. So the best thing is to just be nice to your solar panels. So how might you do that? Well, one thing would be to allow air access at the back of the panel, so that air can flow at the back of the panel and keep it cool. So you want the maximum amount of air to flow on that panel to keep it cool. How would that be? What would that be the best orientation? Well, that would be vertical, wouldn't it? But that's not good because you're not going to capture much light doing that. Well, what would be the best orientation for capturing the light and not being cool? That would be horizontal. So what's in between horizontal and vertical? 45 degrees. So my hypothesis is that the best thing to do with solar panels is not worry about where the hell you are, just mount them at 45 degrees, and then you get the maximum airflow across the back and being able to capture an amount of sunshine, not running at peak value, not being so hot, not being stressed, lasting donkey years, and being able to clear rain. This one's getting rained on at the minute. It's going to be fine because the electronics are at the back. But I mean, if you have it at 45 degrees, it's going to clean the rain off. It's going to shed really quickly and well, and possibly clean dirt off it into the bargain, make it more accessible and so on. So that's my view on that. One last comment on solar power. I've discovered that, well, I had an idea about being able to match the grid on solar whilst running off the grid if you had a grid system. So what am I talking about? Well, you ask the solar to do most of the work and then just top up from the grid if you fall short. So all the time you're just working just fine, and everything's being fed, and then somebody goes and puts a washing machine on, and that's just too much for the system. So it can't function. So what do? You can't wash your clothes, or you can't, or the system just cannot cope, or what, you know, or you've got to switch something off. No, what you do is you feed from the grid. You feed from the solar panel that which the solar panel can provide, and then from the grid you take the remainder. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a gadget which like matched the two up, you know? And there is, and it's called a grid tying inverter. So in other words, what this inverter does is it matches what the grid is doing, and then it makes up the difference from the grid if the solar panels can't handle the job. And these are what you call stackable. What does that mean? Well, it's like connecting batteries together in series. They can all work as a team, because if you think about it, all they ever see is a grid, you know. So they'll see each other as a grid, you know. As long as they've got the signal off the grid itself to work to as their basic plan, they will just feed to that individually and all contribute. Like a bunch of guys trying to push a car down the road. They don't need to be conscious of what the other guys are doing. They just need to push to the best of their ability, and it all adds up to enough, and then the car moves. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Well, that's it. Anyway, that's one of my big videos, and I hope that's some use to some people. Soon these are going to get assembled, and we will start. Well, I'm going to have to wait for the rain to stop now. Soon they're going to get assembled, and we'll start assembling up on Scotland. So, Jesus be with you.